they connect on different levels, then it's more of a soul level connection, we've always said.
Over the course of history, certain tribes or families have been so paranoid about keeping their bloodline pure by having unique family ties.
Well, I remembered and all that what I done, but I don't know.
Here are case recorded of some of the most inbred people of all time.
Timmy, you hiding?
In Avatar, the Na'vi have blue skin because of their alien biology. But what if I tell you there were real-life blue-skinned people that existed? Back in the 1800s, the Fugate family settled in an isolated part of Kentucky. With few roads and limited outsiders, they married within the same small group for generations. This led to a rare recessive gene resurfacing, causing a condition that lowered oxygen levels in their body, turning their skin blue. As transportation improved and new families arrived, the Fugates married outside their circle. This introduced genetic diversity, gradually reducing the condition. Today, their descendants no longer have blue skin, but their story remains one of history's most fascinating genetic mysteries. Case of intermarrying. Medical studies show that marrying in the same family can cause health problems, but the effects were already clear in 1661. Louis le Grand Dauphin, son of Louis XIV and Maria Teresa of Spain, was born into a royal family where relatives had been marrying for generations. This royal inbreeding was meant to secure political alliances and keep power within the family, but it also made health issues more likely. Louis was often described as quiet, slow, and lacking his father's strong leadership. He followed tradition by marrying his own cousin, Maria Anna Victoria of Bavaria. Keeping the family ties even closer, his son Philip V of Spain continued the inbreeding cycle, shaping European history with its genetic consequences. Badly inbred and crazy. Don Carlos of Spain was meant to rule, but from the start, something was wrong. Raised by 6 great-grandparents, inbreeding had left its mark. He was weak, struggled to walk, and his temper was wild. He was a product of the Spanish Habsburg family's royal inbreeding policy, making the marriage of his parents the equivalent of a marriage between half-siblings. People whispered about his strange behavior. He would switch from kindness to anger in seconds. Servants feared his outbursts. Then, something unexpected happened. The prince was suddenly locked away. No grand announcement, no explanation. Days turned to months, and he never returned. Some say he fell ill. Others believe his father made a difficult choice. Spain never got the king it once expected. Controversial painting. Who knew? Inbreeding could lead to this. A famous painting sparked controversy, hinting at a tragic truth. It showed a royal girl who looked no older than 5, dressed in fine clothes, surrounded by attendants. And there was a reason. She was Margaret Teresa, born from generations of inbreeding. Her parents were uncles and nieces, part of a royal family that kept power through close marriages. But it came at a cost. Frail bodies, weak health, and decreased lifespan. Margaret was no different. At 15, she was married off to her own uncle and cousin. By 21, she was gone. A royal legacy built on inbreeding, and a painting that might have captured its price. Cruel ruler. Inbreeding didn't just affect the body, it twisted the minds too. The story of Elizabeth Bathory proves it. Born in 1560 into a powerful Hungarian family, she was destined for wealth and status. But her parents were first cousins, and the effects of inbreeding were clear. She suffered from epilepsy, often experiencing seizures that left her shaken. Over time, her mind changed too. She became cruel, unpredictable, and obsessed with control. For years, whispers of her actions spread, and in 1610, authorities finally intervened. Instead of a trial, she was locked inside her own castle, sealed away from the world. No one knows the full truth of what happened behind those walls, but history remembers her as one of the most terrifying figures of her time. Collyer brothers. New York's elite once valued the Collyer name, but history remembers it for a far darker reason. Homer and Langley Collyer, born in the 1880s to first cousins, had no idea what awaited them. Homer lost his sight and became completely dependent on Langley, who started collecting strange things, convinced they needed protection from the outside world. Their house was filled with piles of newspapers, broken furniture, and even old pianos. By 1947, the brothers had cut themselves off completely. They were buried under their own traps of junk. No one found them until the smell led the police inside. What was once a proud home had become a tomb, one built by their own fears. Fortunate royal family. For centuries, European royals married within their own bloodlines to keep power within their families. It was a tradition when there was always a risk of disabilities. The marriage of King Constantine II of Greece and Princess Anne-Marie of Denmark in 1964 was part of this long history. On the surface, it was a royal love story, but behind it lay generations of inbreeding. Many European royal families intermarried so often that their gene pool became small. Unlike other couples, they were lucky as their children seemed unaffected from genetic issues. This wasn't just about one couple, it was the weight of history, centuries of royals repeating the same pattern. For some families, it was a pattern that led to their downfall. Most inbred family. In the quiet hills outside Sydney, Australia, the Colt family became known for a disturbing legacy. Over 4 generations, close relatives married within the family. In 2012, police were called to a remote farm in the southwest of Sydney following reports of a foul smell. What they found shocked everyone. 7 siblings showing clear signs of inbreeding, along with their children, who had even more severe abnormalities. The family lived in isolation, hiding their way of life from the world. Genetic testing later revealed the truth. Years of inbreeding had led to both physical and mental health problems across generations. The Colt family's story serves as a haunting reminder of how intermarriage can lead to tragic consequences. Passed down by Queen Victoria. World War I had many causes, but did you know that royal inbreeding played a part? In 1904, Tsar Nicholas II and Empress Alexandra gave birth to Alexei, but the joy of having an heir was quickly overshadowed as he suffered from hemophilia. The disease was a result of generations of royal inbreeding. His mother, Alexandra, was the granddaughter of Queen Victoria, who unknowingly passed the hemophilia gene through Europe's royal bloodlines. His condition was kept secret, but it shaped Russia's history. Desperate to save their son, his parents turned to the mystic Rasputin, believing he had healing powers. Their dependence on him fueled distrust among the people, contributing to unrest that eventually sparked the Russian Revolution and World War I. Legendary Sun King. Louis XIV, the legendary Sun King, ruled France for over 70 years, but behind the grandeur was a life filled with health struggles. Born to Louis XIII and Anne of Austria, who were first cousins, Louis XIV's lineage reflected the common practice of royal intermarriage, but was a gamble when it came to genetics. Louis XIV had many illnesses throughout his life. He struggled with fevers, infections, and joint pain. Some believe his poor health affected his decisions, making him stubborn and unwilling to listen to advice. Yet despite his ailments, he led France to greatness. One can only wonder, if he had been in perfect health, how much more could he have achieved? Teenage ruler. When royal families kept marrying their own relatives, it wasn't just about blood, it was about power. Lady Jane Grey, the teenage queen who ruled England for just 9 days. She was a direct descendant of Henry VII from both sides of her family, making her deeply tied to the Tudor bloodline. Some believe she was small and frail, possibly due to inherited conditions. But more than that, inbreeding created a tangled web of rival claims to the throne. Jane's royal blood placed her at the center of a power struggle, shaping her fate before she even had a choice. In another world, she might have lived a quiet life, but history had other plans. Catherine Howard. Catherine Howard's rise to queenship was largely due to her powerful family connections, but her downfall was swift. Many describe her as reckless and immature, making risky decisions that ultimately led to her execution. Some believe her behavior might have been influenced by inbreeding, as noble families often married within their own circles. While there is no direct proof, history has shown that inbreeding among royals sometimes led to mental instability and poor decision-making. Could Catherine have been another victim of this pattern? Well, given how royal bloodlines worked back then, it wouldn't be too surprising. Trapped by a royal lie. In royal courts, bloodlines were everything. Marriages between cousins were common to keep power in the family. But for Anne Boleyn, inbreeding wasn't her reality. It was a weapon used against her. When Anne couldn't give Henry VIII the son he desperately wanted, enemies plotted her downfall. She was accused of something unthinkable, an affair with her own brother, George Boleyn. Back then, royal families often married their own relatives, so this lie sounded even worse. Most historians say it was likely just a cruel way to get rid of her. Anne lost her crown, her freedom, and ultimately her life, all because of a lie designed to erase her from history. But centuries later, her name still refuses to be forgotten. Shocking truth. Ancient Egypt, especially in the 18th dynasty, prioritized keeping the royal bloodline pure, but this practice had consequences. King Tutankhamun, often called the Boy King, lost his life when he was 19 years old. For many years, the cause of it remained a mystery, sparking numerous theories and debates among historians and scientists. In 2010, a groundbreaking study involving DNA testing and CT scans of Tutankhamun's mummy provided significant insights into his health and lineage. The research revealed that King Tutankhamun's parents were siblings. This close genetic relationship led to several health issues for the young pharaoh, compounded by his compromised immune system due to inbreeding. A powerful ruler gone too soon, all because of a royal tradition that put bloodline above health. Hated pharaoh. Ancient Egypt had many powerful rulers, but one pharaoh stood out for all the wrong reasons. Akhenaten, like many pharaohs, was the product of royal inbreeding. His father, Amenhotep III, married his own sister. Akhenaten followed the same pattern, marrying his daughters and keeping the bloodline tightly controlled. This led to genetic disorders, which may explain his unusual appearance. Odd face and long fingers were seen in his statues. Some believe he had Marfan syndrome, a condition linked to inbreeding. Mongols' intermarriage. Genghis Khan built a huge empire, but his family followed a strange tradition. Mongol rulers married many wives to make strong alliances, but sometimes those marriages stayed too close. After Genghis Khan descended, one of his wives, Sorghaghtani, married his son Tolui. In Mongol culture, royal women had to stay in the family, even if it meant marrying their stepsons. This system helped the Mongols maintain their empire, but it also led to generations of intermarriage. Some historians believe this could have caused genetic disorders among later descendants. Genghis Khan's empire might have been built on conquest, but his family stayed trapped in its own rules. The hammer. For royal families, power meant everything, even if maintained through inbreeding. But Charles Martel, known as the Hammer, took a different path. Instead of focusing on keeping his bloodline pure, he focused on building an empire. He crushed his enemies, expanded his rule, and secured his family's place in history. His smart choices set the stage for his descendants, like Charlemagne, to rule for generations. Unlike many rulers who got caught in family feuds caused by inbreeding, Charles kept his focus on power, and it worked. His lineage shaped Europe for centuries. Maybe that's why his legacy stood strong while others crumbled. Lost and found. Did you know that King Richard III's body was missing for over 500 years? It was finally found in 2012, under a parking lot. Hard to believe a king could be buried and forgotten like that, right? Richard III was the last king of the Plantagenet line. His family tree was filled with cousin marriages, a common royal practice that often led to genetic issues. Many believe this could explain Richard's health problems, like his curved spine. In the end, all that inbreeding couldn't protect the Plantagenets. Richard III fell in battle, and his family's rule ended. His forgotten grave became a reminder that power built on blood alone never lasts forever. Capetian's downfall. For over 300 years, the Capetians ruled France, carefully choosing marriages to keep their royal line pure. But as generations passed, health issues and fertility struggles became more common. By 1328, the dynasty faced a major problem. King Charles IV left no son to continue the line. With no direct male heir, the throne was up for grabs. This power struggle led to the 100 Years' War, a brutal conflict between France and England. If the Capetians had prioritized and focused on stronger alliances instead of keeping power within the family, their rule might have lasted even longer. Tudor's dynasty. The Tudors ruled England for over a century, but their obsession with securing the throne through strategic marriages ultimately backfired. Henry VIII wanted a son so badly that he married 6 times. However, his only son, Edward VI, was weak and didn't rule for long. His daughter, Mary I, also had health problems and never had children. Then came Elizabeth I, the last Tudor queen. She was strong and clever, but she never married, so there was no Tudor heir. After Elizabeth, the powerful Tudor family was gone. Despite all their careful planning, the Tudor bloodline simply couldn't endure. Stewart's fate. They ruled through wars, plagues, and even the Great Fire of London, but the Stewart dynasty's biggest threat may have come from within, royal inbreeding. King Charles II, one of the most famous Stuarts, had severe health problems. He struggled with seizures, swollen limbs, and difficulty speaking in his later years. Many think this was because of his family's long history of intermarriage. His brother James II didn't have much luck either. He had health issues of his own and was eventually forced off the throne, bringing an end to direct Stuart rule. The Stuarts faced a lot of challenges, but their family's choices didn't help. Over time, their power faded, and their time on the throne came to an end. Sharp leader. At one point, the Ottoman Empire had a leader so sharp, so determined, that even European politicians feared his strategies. He was Sultan Abdulhamid II, the last great ruler of the empire. For over 30 years, from 1876 to 1909, he stood his ground against European powers. He focused on strengthening the empire while also paying off 90% of its debts. World leaders praised his political genius, but in the end, his own people turned against him. Forced into house arrest, he spent his last years watching European powers carve up the Muslim world. On February 10th, 1918, he passed away, and with him, the last true era of the Ottoman Caliphate faded into history. Last Knight or Ultimate Matchmaker? They called him the Last Knight, but maybe the Ultimate Matchmaker would have been a better name. Maximilian I didn't just fight wars. He used marriage to grow the Habsburg dynasty. Instead of battles, he made smart wedding plans, helping his family take control of Spain, the Netherlands, and Central Europe. But there was a problem. These marriages were often between close relatives. Over time, this led to serious health issues in his descendants, especially Charles II of Spain, who suffered from many illnesses. So, while Maximilian's plan made his family powerful, it also made things a little complicated. Emperor of the United States. It was a failed rice deal that set Joshua Norton on the path to becoming Emperor Norton I of the United States. At first, he was just another businessman in busy San Francisco, trying to take control of the rice market and lost everything. That's when his life took a strange turn. Instead of fading away, Norton called himself Emperor. On September 17, 1859, he made an announcement saying that he was now Emperor of the United States. Surprisingly, people went along with it. He had no royal blood, no army, and no money, but in a city full of dreamers, he became the most loved ruler of all. Hohenzollern legacy. The Hohenzollern family ruled Brandenburg, Prussia, and later Germany, shaping European history for centuries. Unlike many royal families, they mostly avoided marrying close relatives, choosing smart alliances instead. This helped keep their bloodline strong and their rulers capable. Frederick the Great built Prussia into a military powerhouse, and their careful expansion eventually led to Germany uniting under Kaiser Wilhelm III. But Wilhelm VI's leadership took a bad turn, and after World War I, the German Empire was no more. For all their careful planning, they probably didn't see that one coming. In 2011, Potsdam became the stage for a royal wedding that had all of Germany watching. Not bad for a family that technically doesn't rule anything anymore. Dethroned by rivals. You've probably heard of the Habsburgs, Europe's most powerful royal family, but there was another dynasty that gave them a real challenge, the Wittelsbachs. They ruled Bavaria for 700 years, marrying into big royal families, including the Habsburgs themselves. Their boldest move came in 1740, when the Holy Roman Emperor lost his life without a male heir. Charles Albert Wittelsbach grabbed the throne. For a moment, Habsburg rule was broken, but 3 years later, the Habsburgs snatched power back. Still, the Wittelsbachs didn't fade away. They shaped European politics, stood against the Nazis, and even today, their bloodline runs through reigning royalty. Maybe they didn't need an empire to win the long game. Royal House. The Dukes of Coburg were once minor German nobles with little influence, but in the 19th century they reshaped European history through carefully planned marriages. They secured unions with the royal families of Belgium, Bulgaria, Portugal, and England. The most famous match was Prince Albert, who became the husband of Queen Victoria, tying the Coburgs to the British throne. Their marriages spread their influence across the continent, making them one of the most powerful dynasties of their time. What started as a small noble house became a family that ruled Europe through bloodline. Amish people of America. We all believe that to thrive, we need to keep up with society, but in Pennsylvania, there's a community still living like it's 300 years ago. They are called the Amish. They have no cars, no phones, and no electricity from the grid. Just horse-drawn buggies, simple clothes, and traditions that haven't changed for generations. Their ancestors arrived in the 1700s, escaping persecution. Since then, faith, family, and hard work have shaped their lives. Farming and craftsmanship keep their community strong, but breaking the rules has consequences, being cut off, even from family. While the rest of the world rushes forward, the Amish prove that sometimes sticking to the old ways is its own kind of progress. Hutterite's way of life. Most people chase success, money, and new technology, but the Hutterites live a completely different way, one that hasn't changed for centuries. In Alberta, a Hutterite colony opened its doors for a rare black and white film, showing a world built on faith, hard work, and simple living. They don't own things individually. Everything, homes, food, even income is shared. Farming and craftsmanship keep their communities running, while strict religious rules guide their daily lives. The world around them keeps changing, but the Hutterites hold on to their traditions, passing them down from one generation to the next. For them, faith and unity matter more than anything else. History of Machu Picchu. The Inca Empire, the largest in pre-Columbian America, was known for its advanced engineering and complex society. One of its greatest achievements was Machu Picchu, a hidden city high in the Andes. Believed to be a royal estate for the Sapa Inca, Machu Picchu showcased the Inca's mastery in stone construction. Built without mortar, yet stood strong for centuries. The city remained unknown to the outside world until 1911, when explorer Hiram Bingham rediscovered it. Its survival, despite the Spanish conquest that led to the empire's fall in 1532, makes it a powerful symbol of Inca ingenuity. Today, Machu Picchu stands as a testament to their architectural brilliance and remains one of the world's greatest archaeological wonders. Horrific truth of Gooler Clan.
Well, I remembered and all that, what I done.
Gooler Clan, a secluded family living on South Mountain in Nova Scotia, became infamous in 1986 when shocking crimes within their community were exposed. For generations, the Goolers lived in extreme poverty and isolation, cut off from mainstream society. This remoteness led to a cycle of neglect and inbreeding, with multiple family members facing charges for horrific crimes. When authorities investigated, they uncovered a disturbing cycle of familial relationships that had gone on for decades. The trial led to convictions, but the deep scars remained. The Gooler case stands as a haunting reminder of what can happen when isolation, neglect, and secrecy go unchecked for too long.
Oh, yeah.
Shocking case. In 1933, France was shocked by a crime that seemed impossible to understand. Christine and Leah Papin were two quiet maids working for a wealthy family in Le Mans. They did their jobs without complaint and rarely spoke to anyone outside. One evening, something changed. The sisters turned on their employer and her daughter, leaving behind a scene that even the police struggled to believe. When the officers arrived, Christine and Leah sat silently, showing no reaction to what had happened. Experts later tried to understand why it happened. Some blamed harsh working conditions, while others believed it was due to their mental state. To this day, the case remains one of France's most disturbing mysteries. Rise and fall. The Habsburgs weren't just rulers, they were a family, and their dynasty lasted for nearly 600 years. Unlike other empires led by a single monarch, their power was passed down through generations, often reinforced by strategic marriages. Their empire expanded rapidly, controlling vast territories across Europe, the Americas, and beyond. They ruled Austria, Spain, the Netherlands, and even the Holy Roman Empire, but their dominance wasn't built to last. Internal conflicts, military defeats, and political struggles weakened them over time. By the 18th century, their power started to crumble, and by the early 20th century, the dynasty that once ruled half of Europe had finally fallen. Most inbred woman. Tragic things happened after the news of newborn, and for one royal family, history repeated itself. Maria I of Portugal was born into a family where relatives married each other to keep their bloodline strong. For centuries, Spain and Portugal's royal houses had been uniting this way, and when Maria grew up, she followed the same path, marrying her own uncle. At the time, this was seen as a way to protect the family's power, but the effects were devastating. Many of her children didn't survive, and Maria herself struggled with her health. Soon she could no longer rule, and people began calling her Maria the Mad. Tsarevich Alexei Romanov. Tsarevich Alexei Romanov was supposed to be Russia's next ruler, but history had other plans. In 1917, as revolution spread across the country, his father, Tsar Nicholas II, was forced to step down. The royal family was sent to Siberia, far from their once glorious palace. But for Alexei, things were even worse. He had hemophilia, a disease that made even the smallest injury life-threatening. By 1918, they were moved again, this time to a house in Yekaterinburg. Guards watched their every move. The powerful Romanov dynasty was now under the control of the revolution. The boy who was once destined to rule never left that room. The empire his family built was gone, and so was its last heir. Cursed place. In the middle of Transylvania, hidden behind tall trees and misty hills, stands Bran Castle. It's an old, spooky place, and it's tied to a ruler people feared for centuries. His name was Vlad the Impaler. He was a fierce leader, known for his cruel punishments. Some say his scary ways even inspired the story of Dracula, but the scariest part was his curse. After being betrayed, Vlad promised he would get revenge. He was buried in a monastery near Bucharest, but when people opened his tomb years later, it was empty. Even now, locals believe his spirit is still out there, that his curse is real, and if the stories are true, he may return one day. History of Charlemagne. After the Western Roman Empire fell, Europe became a land of small, scattered kingdoms. But one man changed everything. He was Charlemagne. Many think he was just the king of France, but his empire stretched across France, Germany, Italy, Austria, and more. It was the biggest empire Europe had seen in centuries. He came from a family of warriors. His grandfather, Charles Martel, was a great leader too, but Charlemagne didn't just win battles. He brought peace, learning, and order to Europe. That's why people call him the father of Europe. His rule shaped the future, and even today, his impact can still be seen. Hartley sisters.
Very intuitive. They connect on different levels.
Everybody is excited to have a baby, but sometimes the news can be heartbreaking. And for one family, it happened twice. Gwen and Scott Hartley's daughters, Claire and Lola, were both born with microcephaly, dwarfism, and other serious developmental conditions. Doctors believe Claire's condition was one of a kind, until 5 years later, Lola was born with the same diagnosis.
And you, Lola? And right in front of us.
Because their condition is so rare, some experts have wondered if it has a genetic cause. But for their parents, medical labels never mattered. Claire and Lola lived much longer than expected, proving the doctors wrong. Their story has started conversations about genetics, caregiving, and what it truly means to stand by family through life's toughest challenges.
Made me a better person over the years, and I'm thankful for that.
King Kamehameha I. From the moment he was born, it was said he would change Hawaii forever. King Kamehameha I grew up training as a warrior, preparing for the great destiny foretold at his birth. He wasn't just strong, he was smart. He built alliances, fought battles, and even used European weapons alongside traditional Hawaiian warfare to defeat his rivals. By 1810, he had done what no one else could. He united all the Hawaiian islands under one rule. As king, he brought peace, encouraged trade, and created new laws to protect his people. His leadership shaped Hawaii's future, turning scattered islands into a powerful kingdom that would never be the same again. Exacted revenge. Maria Antonia of Austria was born into the Habsburg dynasty, a family shaped by generations of intermarriage. Many of her relatives suffered from genetic disorders, and as one of the last of her lineage, she carried the weight of their fading dynasty. Her marriage was no fairy tale. Her husband was unfaithful, but she refused to be cast aside. Instead of accepting defeat, she turned the tables, using the same political skills that had kept her family in power for centuries. In a world where royal blood could be both a blessing and a curse, she proved that even the last of a dying dynasty could still hold power. Open discussion.
What's your favorite memory, Ray? Do you remember anything about your life?
The Whitaker family of West Virginia became widely known due to their extreme case of inbreeding. Living in an isolated rural area, the family has faced significant genetic and developmental challenges. Several family members show signs of inbreeding-related disorders. Some cannot speak properly, while others have difficulty forming words. One family member, Ray, communicates only through grunts and gestures, while another relies on blinking to respond. These challenges make communication within the family difficult, and their interactions are often simple and repetitive. Thank you very much for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to not miss any of the upcoming amazing videos. Thank you once again.